And there's been sort of various points where the idea of what was going to happen it's just been basically under continual modification. There's been no real set plan. I was simply asked to do it, and I thought, amongst other things, that would be a really good gig to invite my grandmother to.
Oh, that's really sweet. Is she going to come?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wicked.
So that's
Will it be her first gig?
Yeah, that's
of
it.
Yours?
Yeah. So that's the kind of main focus for me, really. I mean, I couldn't invite her down to, say, a gig at, the 333 Club or something, because she'd suffocate on dry ice, and I couldn't have that, I mean, I'd sort of... so basically, that's as much the focus for me as any kind of musical concern, really, and I just thought, well, I'll come up with something, and lo and behold, I have. I've made a piece of music. I did actually make at the end of the process, me and another guy who was advising me on orchestration, we just sort of listened to it and thought, what's the point? It's fine. It's a piece unto itself. All we're going to do by basically kind of getting a few blokes here and there on a violin and a marimba is kind of bring on these kind of external concerns which are actually sort of irrelevant. Piece works. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, that's a bit of a cheesy, hackneyed phrase, but it is certainly of value in this particular situation. The thing was fine, and I'm not going to change it. So I'm going to be performing on my own. Which might be of some disappointment, I think, to sort of people optimistic about the fusion between electronic music and, well, maybe not electronic, but youth music and establishment kind of stuff. I think they might be possibly disappointed, for which I can only apologise. But, I only do things that are appropriate. And to get a load of people playing instruments, and there's no actual point in playing them. And this is the thing, we're, again, back to the machines argument, where sometimes it is appropriate to play an instrument, and sometimes that is going to bring something that a machine could not do. So do it when it's appropriate, and when it's not, don't bother.
I'm just wondering how your grandmother will sort of affect the mix on the particular night that she turns up. I mean, are you going to construct something that you feel will touch her very deeply, that's specifically for her?
I couldn't say that. I think, if anything, a couple of points I did wonder what. I mean, she has heard my music. Let's say that, but there's hearing it in a kind of soporific environment of a front room, and then there's hearing it on a 20 kilowatt PA system. This is quite a different thing, so I just hope she likes it.
Put her in the building next door, maybe.
God bless her, she'll love it.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you about your audience as well, because in spite of the fact that there is yourself, the artist, the machines, to whom you give great credit, and rightly so, there is also a gigantic sort of audience for what you do live, isn't there? And their response to you, I would imagine, is hugely important, because it's almost as extreme as as the music that you're pushing off any stage at any given time. The parameters of which and the boundaries of which just are endless, really. There aren't any, and I always see the performances that you give as trying to push further and further and further. Tell me a bit about the relationship that you have with your audience, because they are quite extreme. They're like literally either slack-jawed and drooling, running, screaming for the hills, or there's just a giant mosh pit in the front, isn't there?
Right,
it's just, it's great.
Put it this way, I mean, if I was to sort of, be some sort of kind of relegated to some sort of sit-down sort of jazz environment where I was sort of generally tolerated as some sort of boring old eccentric, I just wouldn't bother, That's, but as well, if I was to be releasing records and it was quite clear that no one really interested, no one really bought them, and it was a kind of became a labour of love, I don't think I just wouldn't bother. I love making music, and my career has really fortunately come out of that, and what I do, well, simply to kind of amuse myself without wanting to sort of treat it too flippantly. It's incredibly fortunate, and well, no, not without, it's a sort of a beautiful thing, really, that people can take some sort of enjoyment out of that. And as much as sometimes I get nervous and get really stressed about gigs because there's just me on the stage, that it is a fantastic thing. That sort of what's sort of my tinkering around, can kind of evidently sort of have such a positive effect on people. Well, hopefully. I mean, sometimes maybe it's negative. I haven't always had positive reactions, but there's always been a reaction of some sort. And that is reason alone to carry on with it, certainly.
Yeah. I always think there must be a certain amount of terror in being a solo performer, particularly somebody as experimental as yourself, really, because it is like a tightrope walker to a degree, isn't it, without any kind of safety net underneath at all.
Really,
I mean, you're totally naked up there, aren't you? Yeah, you are.
You are pretty much exposed from every angle, really. There's no one to look round at when you play a bum note and go, oh, and oh, what the heck, it doesn't. You just can't do that. You've got to wear it. You've got to wear every mistake that you make, and that's sort of part of it as well. It's almost just like, well, you can't be perfect, so sod it. Why bother trying? It's just get out there and do what you do, and that's what I do, and make a right racket sometimes. And sometimes there's a certain amount of flexibility with the live set that I kind of extend things into sort of endless kind of ambient sort of silences or near silent sort of pieces, which does often have the kind of mosh pit sort of dispersing into a kind of crowd of confused sort of people with question marks overhead. But I mean, that's just sometimes the way it works. I mean, you just got to follow it along, and ultimately it always works out. You can always kind of bring it to some sort of conclusion, whether that's a meaningful one to anyone else other than myself is a matter of for debate. It's a nerve-wracking one. I still get as nervous as the first time I played at the Chelmsford YMCA Club.
Oh.
So bear it in mind, anyone who's going to our gigs, try and spare me the tomatoes.
Well, the dates that are coming up are these: March the 16th at Basingstoke Anvil, the 26th at the Dome in Brighton, Liverpool's Philharmonic on the 27th, and as it stands, we were due to do this broadcast from the BBC's legendary Maida Vale studios, but now we're going to do it from your house instead, Tom.
That's right, yeah.
Because your beloved machinery has let you down.
The much vaunted machinery has decided to kind of explode. And unfortunately, so we'll be doing the live broadcast from my bedroom.
Yeah, okay. I know you don't like to sort of preempt these things as a rule, but would you like to introduce the piece for us?
The pieces which I'm intending to play have no name, so that would be rather difficult. But, you got me.
All right.
This is the this is the confused silence that you're kind of now inducing. I don't know.
Okay, how about this? This is Squarepusher, live on the Breezeblock on Radio 1.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Squarepusher exclusive on the Breezeblock.